You should have taken care of me just a little bit so I wouldn't have to take them dives for the short end money.
Well, I had some bets down for you. You saw some money.
You don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody. Instead of a bum, which is what I am. Let's face it.
Hi, it's Giants and Reviews, and yes, your eyes and ears do not deceive you. This is a new video on this channel for the first time in however many months. I apologise for the lack of videos. Over the past sort of few months, I really haven't had the time to put into recording and editing as much as I wanted to. However, I'm hoping that's going to change from now and be a bit more consistent in the new year. And Retro Recommendations is one of the most sort of fun series that I like talking about on this channel. So I wanted to jump back into it with a film that I rewatched again for the first time in sort of 4 or 5 years when I got the chance to see it at the cinema earlier this year. For those that don't know, Retro Recommendations was where I talk about films from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s and 60s. Maybe I'll tap into the 70s and 80s at some point. And I basically give recommendations on classic films that people have heard about and probably know a lot about already, and talk about more obscure films that you may not have known and may not know much about at all. I like to hit the balance between the two, and this one's definitely going to be in the former category of classics that people probably definitely would have heard of if they're watching this video. Now, before I start, I know it's been a while, but if you enjoy the video, please leave a like and a comment and hit the subscribe button if you're feeling extra generous. But without further ado, let's talk about Elia Kazan's film, On the Waterfront. Inspired by the series of articles titled Crime on the Waterfront, Elia Kazan's most iconic picture sees an ex-prize fighter turned New Jersey longshoreman, played by Marlon Brando, struggle to stand up to his corrupt union bosses, including his older brother, played by Rod Steiger. He starts to connect with the grieving sister, played by Eva Marie Saint, of one of the syndicate's victims. Kazan has directed some of the most influential and iconic features of all time, working with Brando both on today's feature and the adaptation of the Tennessee Williams play A Streetcar Named Desire. He's also worked with James Dean on East of Eden, Gregory Peck on Gentleman's Agreement, and Montgomery Clift on Wild River, all of which are on my watch list. As I mentioned at the start, I last watched this around 5 or 6 years ago, and to be honest with you, it never fully clicked with me. And ever since then, and with broadened horizons, I've wanted to revisit it. And what better than Inglorious 35mm at the Prince Charles Cinema earlier this year. I'm glad I did, as this was an absolutely fantastic classic cinematic viewing that I felt wholly invested in this time around. Balancing its poignant workers' right versus the greed of the corrupt union boss's plot centerpiece with a genuinely charming and raw romance makes for a feature that feels ahead of its time and still resonates today. After being drawn into leading fellow dock worker Joey Doyle to his doom without any knowledge of what was going to occur, we follow Terry Malloy, played by Brando, as his guilt for his actions grows and his loyalty to the corruption of his untouchable money-hungry employers and family wavers. Terry is the beating heart of the story, and his character progression is an engaging experience, from his powerful, risky and dedicated stance against the union bosses, to he and Edie's, played by Saint, sweet, tender and at times sharp romantic relationship.
Oh, what a fruitcake you are.
I mean, isn't everybody a part of everybody else?
And you really believe that, Drew?
Yes, I do.
Well, here we are. One for the lady and for the gent.
The tight-knit community of the dock workers, all of whom are just desperate for work and dedicate their lives to showing up with the glimmer of hope of a day's wage. The imagery of these workers, coupled with the wealthy higher-ups, certainly strikes a host of relatability even 70 years later. The cinematography is strong and manages to draw out a certain beauty from the dilapidated docks, and the score frequently elevates the drama occurring on screen. On the Waterfront is a very character-driven piece, and Terry makes for a compelling lead thanks to Brando's iconic standout performance. His charm, swagger and good-spirited brash nature is frequently challenged, and Brando effectively lets his guard down to showcase Terry's anxieties and traumas. Carl Malden's prominent and unwavering father Barry, the always great Lee J. Cobb, is a menacing and looming presence, and lastly, Eva Marie Saint delivers an emotional, strong-willed and subdued debut film performance. On the Waterfront is an excellent and important drama that still holds up all these decades later. The performances are fantastic, the pacing and balancing of intimacy and escalation is superb, and you can't help but get drawn into the community of these New Jersey docks. Thanks for watching the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you've seen On the Waterfront, or if you want to see On the Waterfront, or what's your favourite Marlon Brando or Elia Kazan film. As always, thanks for watching, and I will try my best to try and get more consistent video releases out soon. But as mentioned at the start, if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, comment below, and if you're feeling extra generous, hit the subscribe button. I've dropped my Letterboxd and Instagram and my Film Focus page that I write for, links in the description if you're interested in any of those. But yeah, it's been fun making a video again, and hopefully I will speak to you again soon. Cheers.